All for more on this and a few other points of the day, I'm joined now by Liberal Democratic Senator David Leyonhjelm. Thanks for your time today.
Good morning.
So, should Barnaby Joyce go? Question. Should he stand aside at the very least?
I don't think so, and I don't think Matt Canavan should have stood down from his ministerial job either. The point about it, I guess, is that if you know you're a citizen of another country and you do nothing about it, that's different from not knowing, and therefore you can't do anything about it. And as I understand the facts, in neither Matt's case nor Barnaby's case did they know they were citizens. I think the High Court will probably come down on, sort of more or less on that sort of issue. Did they know? Were they able to do something about it because they knew? If they weren't, then they can't really be held to be liable. I mean, look at the situation if the joke that's going around at the moment. What if North Korea decided all the members and all the senators in the Australian Parliament were citizens of North Korea? Would that disqualify?
But I mean, you can talk about taking all reasonable steps there. The difference here is, are all reasonable steps taken to find out if you're a citizen or not? And this so far has been smaller parties, Greens, One Nation possibly, we'll see what happens there, the Nationals as well. I mean, you know, what steps?
So what's a reasonable step to find out? The Court's never said anything about that. What the Court said is all reasonable steps to renounce your citizenship on the assumption you know or reasonably suspect that you might be a citizen. But if you can't know, you don't suspect, you have no reason to think that you might be a citizen of another country, what's all reasonable steps to find out if you are?
Finding out if your parents are born in another country, that's a pretty simple step, isn't it?
Well, that's not sufficient in Matt's case, is it? Or Barnaby's case? I mean, I don't think it's sufficient in every case.
But in the case of Barnaby, if he just looked into it, my father's born here, well, I'm going to check into these rules, we wouldn't be talking about this right now, presumably.
Usually the assumption is if you're born in Australia, then you're a citizen of Australia. So that's usually as far as most people would think about it. And it wouldn't address the situation of North Korea declaring us all to be citizens of North Korea. And how could you check that? I think the issue goes beyond just, you know, should you suspect that you might be a citizen?
So on the smaller party side, I mean, you're from very much a micro party. Did you go through a process? Was it literally ticking a box, you never thought about it? Have you looked in the last week or day?
We don't have a process, a formal process. We say to people, if you're likely to get elected, then you have to double check. If you're not likely to get elected, and you know, let's face it, most minor party candidates have got no chance of getting elected, then we say, well, you know, you decide how you want to address that point.
Is that a bit loose, saying you decide? What did you take? What steps did you take, for example?
We're the ones who take the risk. I mean, if any of our candidates did get elected, contrary to their expectations, and they did turn out to be a dual citizen, then they've got a problem. So that is an issue. But, so yes, it's a calculated risk.
Have you rechecked, given the latest round of things coming out, that you have a parent born overseas or anything like that that would qualify you?
Well, not only were my parents born in Australia, so were my grandparents and my great-grandparents. Now, that doesn't exclude the possibility that some country, somewhere, has decided that I might be a citizen of them. But, you know, you tell me where I should check. I mean, I don't think the onus is on me. I think the onus is on somebody who suspects that I might not be a citizen, or might not only be a citizen of Australia, to try and come up with some reason why that might be so.
Right.
Now, I am a Swedish baron by virtue of my name. 6 generations ago, if Sweden said, "Oh no, all Swedish barons are citizens of Sweden," well, that'd be news to me. But who's to know? And I'm not going to go and ask.
All right, well, maybe we'll check on the Swedish Baron rules.
Do some homework for me.
All right, well, we'll see how that goes. Sex Discrimination Act. Now, there's a lot of talk about same-sex marriage at the moment. You want to put a provision within the Sex Discrimination Act that means service providers for weddings, are not subject to it. This is essentially trying to head off concerns about the plebiscite, is it,
yes,
about the no case?
Correct, that's correct. My bill to legalise same-sex marriage, which is on the notice paper in the Senate, includes a provision to amend the Sex Discrimination Act so that suppliers of goods and services to the solemnisation of a marriage, that's the term that we use, so in other words performing a wedding, are exempt from the Sex Discrimination Act. Now this is an issue for Conservatives who might otherwise vote yes on the plebiscite. I want to see a yes vote succeed. I think Conservatives should vote yes as well as
and basically getting in protections regardless of whether that passes or not, is this getting support?
It's only going to be tabled today, so it's a bit early to say. There will be a lot of support for it, I'm confident of that. And I make the point too that think about this. Senator Dean Smith's bill, private member's bill, had quite a lot to say about religious exemptions, and I've got no fundamental problem with any of that. But objections to same-sex marriage are not just religious. Traditional Aborigines, for example, are opposed to same-sex marriage. They've made that very plain. Now, just imagine a scenario where a same-sex couple wanted to get married, but they wanted to get married on Aboriginal land, and they needed the approval of those Aborigines, the traditional owners, to do that. And the traditional owners said, no, it's against our culture for same-sex marriage to occur, and they denied them permission. Under the Sex Discrimination Act, they could potentially be taken to court. Now, what I'm saying is that should not occur.
All right.
We should respect. I disagree with people who are opposed to same-sex marriage, but we should respect their right to disagree.
We'll see where it goes. Just finally, one other bill that's getting debated at the moment, more so between the corridors, media reform. You're a supporter of it? Do you have any information on whether the government's getting close on this?
No, I don't. The One Nation people have told me that they're not getting close.
They're not, right.
No, so I take them at their word, but I know Mitch is working hard on it, so I'm not sure where it's going to end up. Apparently it's listed for debate today, and so we'll kick off the second readers, but I'm pretty sure the government won't bring it to a vote unless they're certain that they've locked in sufficient numbers.
We'll keep in touch. Liberal Democratic Senator David Leyonhjelm, thanks for your time today on this eventful, again, sitting day.
My pleasure.